One thing Chris Williamson said to look out for in women and for long-term healthy relationships would be don't go after women who are psychologically unstable. In terms of like, if you can find a girl who's able to stay calm through a little bit of chaos, that is the biggest green flag you can possibly look for. Would you agree with this?
I agree, and I think that goes for both men and women. Life, it's going to have its ups and downs. There is going to be some chaos, and so you want somebody who can remain level-headed.
What are some questions that you could ask a date to determine if they have certain green flags?
It depends on what you as the one like determining are looking for. So let's say that you want somebody who is ambitious and goes after things that they want. Asking about their past jobs, like where they started at their company, could be something that tells you, okay, are you working towards a specific goal? Or even do you go skiing? Like, are you a skier? Skiing indicates like a certain amount of effort required to have fun. You have to schlep all your stuff around. You have to stick with it, usually year after year, to continue to improve. That shows dedication. Do you speak a foreign language? Commitment, interest in cultures or people outside of yourself. So depending on what you're trying to determine if like they have as a green flag affects, what kind of questions you should ask. But I think there are questions, like sort of sneaky questions that can get at the underlying meaning.
I would say the best question, ask them about their ex. And if they go on a tirade and they start bad-mouthing the person or they start gossiping, that's a red flag. But if they don't and they say, you know what, it was a great relationship, we just didn't work out, green flags.
I think that is a green flag, but I would not ask about an ex on a first date. I think that needs to be at least third, fourth, fifth date material.
Really? Fifth date in?
Yeah. I mean, maybe third if you're like getting to that like level of closeness. But I think asking about someone's ex on a first date, it's like, why do you want to know? Like, let's get to know each other.
What about asking like, how long have you been single for?
So the problem with that is I think it can be misleading. So one of your questions was 35 and never had a relationship longer than 3 months. And I think my answer to that was red flag, but there are definitely valid reasons, and there are a lot of really awesome guys out there who fall into that category, and it's totally legit. You've been focusing on your career. You just haven't put time and effort into dating. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's like, oh, and antenna up, let's like learn more about it.
So what's the appropriate way to ask about something like that?
I think asking directly is appropriate. It just feels like on a first date, somewhat interrogating, because they might feel put on the spot or uncomfortable with what the answer actually is. Where I would prefer on a first date, you're really understanding if you have shared interest, if your values align, like just focusing on flirting and having fun, really, and then work on uncovering some of those red flags that might be there, or even the green flags on future dates. I think when you focus too much on like, I need to learn these specific things about them, the first date doesn't end up being fun. So early on, just focus on having fun. And then on the next dates, you can be more intentional about what you want to uncover or know.
And how much talking should you be doing versus the date?
Okay, I tell men they should strive for 70-30. Her talking 70% of the time. Good conversations usually end up more being like 50-50. But if you are striving to have her talk more, that's going to be better than having her talk less. People fundamentally think that dates went better the more they talked.
How bad is it to just cut through all filters and then point out something like maybe she's being a little quiet and you're like, hey, by the way, I just kind of picked up you're a little quiet. Is there like, are you more shy? And just kind of cutting through all of like the societal norms of everyone saying, hey, you need to open up the door for them, or you need to do this, you need to do that. And you just cut through it and you're just like, hey, this is something I just noticed. What do you think about that?
Well, I feel like that's different things, like opening the door for them and, following the societal norms of the date is something I would recommend. But I think there can be benefits to like cutting through the bullshit. And especially if you see something like that, like you seem like a little uncomfortable or you seem a little shy right now, can be effective because it demonstrates you're not worried about what she's going to say. If she says, yeah, I don't actually want to be here right now, or you're not as cute as your photos, like you're not worried about that. Like you're just getting your answer. So I think that can be effective.
What about the amount of partners that someone has had and the duration of those partnerships or relationships? When does that matter? When does it not matter?
So it can definitely tell you something about them. So if this person has only been in long-term relationships and they go from relationship to relationship, that certainly means something different than if this person has never had a significant other. And I wouldn't say you should take too much stock in it because people change, and sometimes someone hasn't had a partner because they were focusing on work or it just wasn't important to them, and now it is. So it's not to say the future can't be different, but a good indicator of future behavior is past behavior. So it can be relevant.
And what if you're someone who wants to improve yourself before going out into the dating pool? Like, I always think for myself, like, I want to become more successful, get in better shape, have better things going on before I eventually find like my long-term partner, because I feel like as I continue to try to become a better person, it'll open up more opportunity for me in that area.
Yeah.
Like, how do you know when to draw the line and to actually like start looking and putting more effort into that versus like developing yourself?
So that's something I see all the time. And that's how oftentimes the guys I work with end up being 35 or 40 and single because they've spent all of this time building themselves and oftentimes investing in themselves in very meaningful ways, but they haven't spent the time investing in their dating life in the same way. So actually, I would encourage someone who's in that position, start dating now. You're never a finished product. You are always, hopefully, going to be striving to be better, to improve in those different areas. But that doesn't mean you have to put your dating life on hold. Sure, if you're not meeting table stakes, like you're not in decent shape and you don't have a job, like those might be things that you want to take care of before putting yourself out there because you're going to get drastically better matches. But if you're just trying to lose a little body fat or, improve your portfolio a bit more, get out there and start dating and continue to work on those things.
If you could make one cultural rule that everyone would have to follow, what would it be?
Ghosting. It leads to just so much confusion and, in my experience, for both men and women, spiraling into like, well, maybe there's still hope here, but why did this person do that? Where if you just have the common decency to shoot somebody a message, like, I really enjoyed meeting you. This isn't the romantic connection I'm looking for. I wish you the best. It closes the door. It shows that you have respect for other people. And it's just like common decency.
I remember when I had first got into the dating pool, like for the first time, and I was trying to actively date. In the event I was ghosted, I would have a text that I could send and be like, "Hey, I just noticed like you didn't respond," and I was just curious because I'm trying to learn like what could I have improved on, and that's totally cool. Like we don't need to be anything, and I'm not looking for anything from you. Maybe just an answer and some clarity. And I actually would get a lot of like thoughtful responses.
Really? Like what did they say? Do you feel like they were being honest?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
They're like, hey, to be honest, it was just kind of this, or hey, to be honest, like I just started talking to someone else, or hey, to be honest, like, I found it a little, odd how you were, super interested in spike ball. I don't know, like it could be anything.
And did you feel like it was helpful in improving for future
dates? Yeah, absolutely.
dates?
Yeah. And in fact, I remember when I first downloaded the dating apps, like my opener to a lot of people, which actually had a really high success rate, because on Hinge you can like someone's picture and have a comment as well. And I would say, hey, just curious, we don't even need like to talk, but can you critique my profile? I just downloaded this like last week. And
that's a great one.
And I got a lot of matches, and people were like, yeah, honestly, remove this picture, like do this. And I was getting like data points from people
that's a fantastic
that were in the dating
one.
pool.
I love
this is
that,
like
Jack.
when I was like at UCSB.
And did some of those then translate into dates?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, once I was like, okay, well, like what about these pictures? Like, and
you know
then
what'd be
I could
so
send them
funny?
those.
How about you critique my first date? That's what it should be. Just
Yeah,
give
You
me
are
some
so
pointers.
good
She's
at
like,
Yeah.
now I can't believe
pointers,
anything
yeah.
you're saying. Like, I don't know about this.
Let's
Yeah.
critique this relationship together.
Yeah, that's funny.
Are you still on the dating apps?
Yeah.
Should we look at your profile?
You know what we should
no,
do?
I don't know about
Yes.
my.
This is going to be a member exclusive. So if you want to see this entire interaction, join the membership. You'll be able to see this entire episode uncensored in full, including Jack's dating profile review.
I don't know if I want to do a dating profile review because I have friends' profiles
Nope.
that we can
For the members, Jack. We got to do it for the
Do it
members.
for the
see.
members.
Do it for the members.
We'll see.
You have access to the best dating
Yes.
coach in the
We can always
world.
decide not to post it.
Yeah, you're right. We could decide to cut it out. Okay, well, we can do this. Yes, this will happen.